The following BLTV program is brought to you by O'Flaherty Law. Please enjoy.
Hey everybody, welcome to another Seize Your Business podcast. My name is Bryan McDonald of OnPurpose Growth, and today I have Tom Fogerty of Lakeshore Wealth Advisors. And what Tom's going to be talking with us about is the 33 common financial planning blunders. Tom has a lot of experience in the planning field. So Tom, thanks for coming on, and please give a little intro of yourself.
Sure.
And
Well,
then
thank
we'll
you,
dive
Brian.
right in.
Appreciate the invitation. Quick intro. Been in the financial advisory world since 1992. Prior to that, I was in the corporate world, aluminum and sales, marketing, product management, steel, aluminum industry. Prior to that, U.S. Navy for 4 years, and prior to that, graduate school and undergraduate school. So it's been a lot of fun, quite a journey. And when Brian asked me to come in and speak, I decided to write down, stream of consciousness, if you will, some bullet points that I have found to be concerns as I do planning over the years with folks. Not meant to be an exhaustive list, but just get you to thinking. Just a reminder, I'm not an attorney, I'm not a CPA, so to keep my compliance folks happy, any ideas that you hear today, please don't take them as legal or tax advice, rather thoughts to take back to your advisors for further conversation.
Perfect. Well, talk to us about the 33
All right.
blunders.
Great. Okay, and no priority, just a laundry list of my thinking process. Let's start out with one that's the number one, no distribution strategy at retirement. Imagine yourself going up a mountain with a tour guide, get to the top of the mountain, he says, well, you're on your own from here on down. I only brought you up the mountain. And that could be concerning, and especially if you have to get back to base camp, which in my world is retirement. Different gear, different guide, different distribution strategies, different ways of getting there. So I find that many times people pride themselves on getting to the top of the mountain with their wealth accumulation.
Okay.
But once they're there,
Now
they
what?
have no clue on how to get back down to base camp.
That's trouble.
That's trouble. That's trouble. So a distribution strategy.
Got it.
Once you hit the magic day of retirement, I find that to be a very, very concerning issue. Number two, different topic, buy-sell agreements.
Okay.
Think of a buy-sell agreement, and sometimes they're called stock transfer agreements, as a will for your business.
Right.
And I've seen a lot of them, and sometimes I find that even though it's good news that they have one, they being the business owners, it's bad news that they don't necessarily cover all the trigger points. Trigger points being death, disability, retirement, early retirement, divorce, bankruptcy. And then if you're lucky, and they're all covered, sometimes they're not funded. So you kind of just hope that you'll have the money to take care of the trigger points when you get there. And even if they're funded, you find sometimes that the definitions of the funding mechanisms, such as disability insurance, don't match up with what the insurance carrier thinks they are. And it's a contractual obligation, so the insurance company's language trumps whatever it might say in the actual document.
So then what's the negative outcome that happens if these all things aren't lined up?
The insurance company, if they're the ones that are funding one of those trigger points with insurance, say disability, and the disagreement could be that, hey, he's disabled, pay up. And the insurance company says, well, not according to our definition. Our contract trumps whatever it might say. So it's best to abide by whatever the insurance company says is the definition in the case of disability. If you're dead, you're dead. That's hard to
it's hard to argue. Hard to argue.
But make sure you have all the trigger points, make sure they're funded, make sure the definitions are clean. Okay, number three, self-sabotage. We want something, but our actions in our daily life don't necessarily make sure that happens.
That makes sense.
A lot of us are victims of just following the talking heads on television or listening to the white noise in the background. And as a result, we have a bias towards just doing what the lemmings do, going over the cliff sometimes. We're busy, and it's easier not to think sometimes. It's easier just to read a magazine and stay inside the box on traditional solutions. But what I found, Brian, is that the wrong conversations can lead to wrong solutions.
Yeah.
And this is a nonlinear world. And unfortunately, we all think about linear solutions, the easy way, and it's always going to apply. Not true. Linear thinking in a nonlinear world doesn't always work. And it comes down to if something that you thought to be true turned out not to be true, when would you want to know about it?
Right away.
Right away. So
Right
often
away.
it's a matter of getting away from the linear thinking. Imagine yourself on a very idyllic tropical island, and you
Okay.
send a postcard to your buddies, and there you are with your family on the beach, and everything looks like it's really good. Your buddy has the ability, for whatever technology he might have, to zoom out on that postcard, and in the background there's a volcano.
Oh.
And you're sitting on the beach really happy, but the volcano is in the background when he zooms out. In many cases, that's the situation with retirement planning.
Got it.
Follow the traditional thinking, go over the cliff, don't pay attention to what's going on in the background. Icebergs being another example.
There you go.
The big part of the icebergs below the water,
Yep.
that's where all the bad stuff is. Taxes, volatility, inflation, unplanned health events.
Mm-hmm.
The part you see above the water is the smaller part. And that's what people like to concentrate on. Oh, growth,
Return,
accumulation,
yeah.
wealth, rates of return.
Yeah.
And what killed the Titanic was the part below the waterline.
Yes, absolutely.
And so self-sabotage, you've got to stay away from it. All right. Bullet point number 4. You die, you traditionally leave your IRA to a spouse.
Okay.
The spouse then, depending upon his or her age, can roll that IRA over into someone to an IRA of their own name, or keep it in the deceased name. And there's various consequences of doing it either way. But suffice it to say that if you leave an IRA to someone who's not a spouse,
Mm-hmm.
one of your children, in order for them to be able to stretch that IRA out over their lifetime,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess minimize the tax bite all up front,
Okay.
they have to keep it in the deceased name,
Really?
and as opposed to rolling it over into their own name, which you can do if you're a spouse. Well, I've seen that happen a couple times. Too late. The child rolls it over to his own name, immediate tax consequence, and giving up the right to stretch it.
Yeah, right.
So that's
right.
something that's got to be all right. Shortage of cash and cash equivalents.
Okay.
All right. How many times have I seen somebody stuff as much possible as they can possibly into a qualified plan and not have a nickel in cash for the broken transmission, the leaky roof, all the emergencies that come up in daily life? So
Unplanned expenses.
unplanned expenses, and also unplanned opportunities. Something
Okay.
that comes up that you want to take advantage of.
well
Wish I
said.
had some cash.
Yeah,
don't
well
have
said.
it. Don't
Okay.
have it. Think of cash or cash equivalents, CDs, money market, credit unions, passbook savings, checking accounts, cash equivalents as being a parking lot.
Got it.
Ideally, you'd want to have 50% of your gross income in the parking lot. Can you always get there from day one? No, but you work towards getting to that so that you don't have to worry about all the things that life throws at you. So don't stuff away money into something that you can't get at until you're 59 and a half when you don't have any money in the parking lot.
Yeah, right, right.
So anyway, okay. Mortgage decisions. One of the American dreams is to own a home and also to have that home mortgage free by the time retirement rolls around. Nothing wrong with that. It's a great emotional foundation. What I find people doing sometimes is not paying off the mortgage the way that they could do it in a much more efficient way.
Okay.
I'll look at somebody's stuff, as I call it affectionately,
Yeah.
their documents, and go,
Is that
okay.
the technical term? Stuff?
Stuff.
Yeah,
That's right. Stuff. It's compliance approved.
Yeah, right.
Okay. And they'll say, I'm throwing an extra $500 a month towards my mortgage. I want to pay it off more quickly. Or I took a 15-year mortgage out. I want to pay it off more quickly.
Okay.
Okay. I applaud your desire to pay off the mortgage quickly, but there are more efficient ways to do it than those
Okay.
traditional ways. And I won't go into all the details, but suffice it to say that just paying extra money towards something that you're going to be hard to get back out in an
Right.
emergency is not necessarily the most efficient way.
Yeah.
And I hate to make this kind of conversation, Brian, a cookie cutter in the sense that everything I'm saying today doesn't fit everybody. So I'm just throwing
Right.
ideas out for people to say, I'm wondering if I'm doing it the right way.
Right. Well,
Let me
and
talk
it
to
sounds
Mike.
like there are a lot of common mistakes that people make thinking they're doing something good for
Right, right.
themselves.
Yeah,
Right?
and usually people's hearts are in the right place.
Yes, absolutely.
And they want it, and quite frankly, I hate to say that word, quite frankly. No, I forget that term. But anyway, the people that are fun to work with are the ones that want to do good things for their family, their business, and their community.
Yes.
And all the other things, net income and net worth, really don't matter.
Mhm.
Because if you have those other three things in place first, everything else takes care of
Yep,
itself.
I agree.
Okay, a shortage of or a lack of tax-free assets.
Okay.
Typical scenario: somebody arrives at retirement's doorstep, done a good job over the years when they're working, and they have a big fat 401k, they have home equity, and they have maybe a pension if they're lucky, maybe not too much anymore, and Social Security. Guess what? It's all taxable.
Yeah.
Well, nobody knows where tax rates are going to go. I don't.
Right.
You don't. Nobody. $21 trillion deficit, I can kind of guess, but I have no idea.
Right.
What I want my clients to have is flexibility.
Mm-hmm.
In order to have flexibility year by year during retirement, you got to have the ability to have some tax-free money mingled in there with all the taxable money.
Right, to balance itself out.
So you make your decisions year to year.
Yep.
And unfortunately, a lot of people don't have that tax-free income. The other thing that people don't realize that if you make above a certain amount of money, then your Medicare premiums after retirement could be hit with a surcharge.
Oh, really?
But if you have certain kinds of tax-free money, not all qualifies, then it doesn't count towards your income for Medicare surcharge purposes.
Okay.
A lot of people say, well, my Medicare premium is $134 a month for my Part B, but there's a surcharge if you make too much money.
Yeah.
And if you have tax-free money of certain kinds, Roth IRAs, things like that, it doesn't count towards that income calculation. Therefore, you might not be hit with a surcharge. But again, it's a CPA discussion you want to have.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, another disclaimer in there.
Yeah, right.
Okay, misuse of per stirpes and per capita.
Okay.
All right, so you fill out an annuity application or an IRA application or a life insurance application. You put down a beneficiary primary.
Yep.
If you're married, it's typically the spouse.
Okay.
And if you do the right thing, you're usually looking at putting contingent beneficiaries on there.
Yeah.
Not always done, but you should be. And every single custodian that's going to be holding the money has its own rules as to what is considered default. But let's just say you had 2 children and you named your spouse as the primary beneficiary of your IRA or annuity or life insurance. Yeah. And you named your 2 children 50-50 as the contingents.
Okay.
Let's just say one of those children predeceased you.
Got it.
Then it was your desire, your wife's desire, to take his or her half, that child's half, and have it go down their bloodline to their kids, grandkids, your grandkids.
Yeah, my grandkids, yeah.
But unbeknownst to you, without stating it in the application, the default for that particular company that you dealt with uses per capita, excuse me.
Okay.
Per capita means that your child's half, instead of going down to his kids, now flips over to your other child.
Really?
So it stays in the family. That's good news.
Yeah, right.
But it doesn't go the way you wanted it to.
Right.
So per capita is nothing more than meaning for each head, and per stirpes means by the branch or per branch.
Oh, got it.
So always ask the custodian, IRA, annuity, life insurance, what their default is, and if it's necessary to stipulate either in a separate piece of paper or right there on the application in the margin and write per stirpes per capita. Make sure your wishes are abided by. I find that people just don't pay attention to that, and they assume something's going to happen.
Nor maybe know that exists.
Right. It doesn't. Right. Okay. Then we get into IRAs. Remember I alluded a few minutes ago to the stretch IRA?
Correct.
Where if a non-spouse inherits an IRA, they have the ability to stretch it out over their lifetime and just pay a little tax every year. Mm-hmm. Well, guess what? You need to ask the IRA custodian if they allow that. And if you have a trust that's going to be the beneficiary, ask them if they'll review the trust ahead of time to see if they'll allow stretch IRAs. I've run into a couple situations where they say, no, we don't allow it. You've got to take it all out in a lump sum or over 5 years. So it behooves the client when they're doing planning for their IRAs.
Okay.
If they're thinking that their children can stretch, make sure you ask the custodian if they accept the documents and will do stretch IRAs. It's just another thing to ask about ahead of time.
So one thing I hear is kind of a theme is some of these choices made with custodians, there's assumptions made in them that you need to check against.
That's right.
Yeah.
And another thing is that if you decide to change the beneficiary, let's say that you have one of your kids becomes a black sheep.
Yeah.
Or you just want to update it and add a third kid, or whatever it is, whatever you do and change, and you submit that to the custodian, the IRA custodian, call up and verify it after the fact, make sure that they got it, it's properly recorded.
Got it.
Because in the end, what happens, what controls who gets the money is what they have on record, not what you think is on record.
Right.
So always verify.
Completely different, right?
Yep, right.
Completely different.
Okay. Keeping on the IRA theme, if you decided to leave half of your IRA to, this is after you and your wife are both gone, half to charity and half to the kids.
Okay. Yeah.
That's fine. You can do
Yeah.
that. 50% to charity X and 50% to my two kids, 25 and 25. Great, no problem. But unless the charity piece is paid out by September 30th of the year after death, second death,
Okay.
and prior to the kids getting their payout, then the kids give up their right to stretch their piece.
Really?
So you always want to make sure that if a charity is part of the IRA distribution on a single IRA, pay their piece out first, get that out of the way.
Got it.
Then the kids can keep the right to stretch. And I find that sometimes the message here really is not to try to solve a charitable design here, but rather just to say, when you got charities and you're thinking, make sure that you talk to your attorney and your CPA to get it right.
Yes.
And to make sure that they mark the key dates on the calendar.
Yeah. It sounds like making sure the details on how what you want to happen actually happen, rather than assuming if I just say this and this, it's going to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Here's another one. I wanted to leave it to a certain person in my IRA. And so what I'll do when I fill out the beneficiary is I'll put down my wife as the primary. So far, so good.
Mm-hmm.
Then in the contingent, I'll write, as stated in my will. That's
Okay.
a no-no.
Really?
Because you have to have a person named. And even if you put down the particulars of the will, the name of the will, and it was dated and everything, the fact is a will has no authority over a contractual agreement such as an IRA or annuity or life insurance contract. So you could say, I leave all my IRA money to Sam Smith.
Right.
But as far as the IRA company custodian is concerned, Sam Smith is nowhere on that.
On the application.
And that's what governs, not what you want in the will.
And will they allow that the per my will to be on there? Are they checking that?
Well, that's the issue. Sometimes we get involved after the fact and look at it in horror. Other times we'll hear about people submitting it, and the company should be looking at it, but
they're
don't.
not. Yeah.
And then they don't find out till it's too late down the road. And you go, wait a minute, I thought this was supposed to go to Sam Smith. Oh no! So since it says per terms of my will, then it didn't really name a person, so it goes through probate. And you don't want your IRA going through probate, or your annuity, or your life insurance.
I don't think you want mostly anything going through probate.
Okay, there's something really neat. It's called the Unholy Triangle of life insurance. This is a new bullet point. Okay. Sometimes called the Goodman Triangle based on a court case, but an annuity, a life insurance contract have three different moving parts. I'm going to talk about life insurance here. There's the owner of the policy.
Yeah.
There's the person that's being insured.
Yes.
And then there's the person that receives the money, the beneficiary.
Got it.
Three different buckets.
Yep.
Well, you're supposed to only name two people to fill those three buckets.
Okay.
Or maybe an entity can be in there as well, but never three different entities and people. So as an example, you own a life insurance policy on your wife, and the beneficiary is your child.
Got it.
And you think that you've done great things for your family. Well, okay, so then what happens is the insured passes away, your wife passes away, your beneficiary, your child receives proceeds, you're thinking tax-free, but you're deemed as the owner to have made a gift to the child. And there could be some negative gift tax, income tax consequences. Again, not here for design session.
Right.
Red flag is anytime you see a life insurance policy that has three different people or entities named in those three buckets, just be really careful. And sometimes the redo can be complex, but it's really something that just puts a red flag up the pole real fast.
Yeah, and this matters personal or business life
Well,
insurance
that's a
policy.
good question. On the business side, let's just say that the corporation owns a life insurance policy on you because you're a key man.
Right.
So the corporation is the owner.
Yeah.
You're the insured. And let's just say that you decided to talk the corporation into making your wife the beneficiary.
Got it.
So then you pass away, the corporation pays the money to the spouse. It's deemed to be a dividend, or taxable compensation.
Yeah.
And there's all sorts of complications.
Yeah. Okay.
And so if you want your spouse to be the beneficiary, there's better ways to arrange it.
Got it.
Again, not a design session, just be aware of session.
Yeah.
Three different buckets, no more than two different people entities. When the Pension Protection Act was passed back in 1996, one of the things that came out of that was, hey, if you as a company are going to own life insurance on an employee, you got to have them acknowledge the fact that you're applying for life insurance on them, for which the corporation will be the beneficiary.
Got it.
And there's two ways to go about that. Sometimes the application, depending upon the company, has a section right in the application that acknowledges that fact. I'm aware that the company's applying for life insurance on it, blah, 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 blah. Other times there's a separate form, but you have to keep it on the file, and every year the company has to send in a form 8925 it is, with their tax return to list how many people are in the company, how many have insurance, what the total face amount is, and verify that they have confirmation on file that the employee is aware of the fact that life insurance was placed on them. It goes back to what they used to call janitor insurance.
Okay.
Way back when a lot of employees in some companies were having life insurance contracts taken out on them without their knowledge.
With that knowledge, yeah.
There's a long history of those abuses way back when. But this has been in force since August of 2006. Another bullet point: you own an annuity. Life is good. It's growing. You think, and you see a great opportunity out there to buy some farmland or something. You pledge the annuity as collateral.
Okay.
Okay. The gain on that annuity becomes taxable.
Oh, really?
So you're thinking that life is good.
Yeah, right. I'm not got to pay anything, right?
Yeah, I've just got my annuity over here as collateral. Well, let's just say the bank wasn't aware of the fact that's a no-no, and you pledge your annuity as collateral. Then the gain on that annuity is a taxable event, and then you're out. You don't have your collateral. So that's
right.
All right. Second marriages.
Okay.
Very, very common.
Yep.
401k screw ups all the time.
Yep.
Use old Sam Smith here as the example. He remarries and forgets to update his 401k beneficiary to his new wife. And
sure it happens.
So guess what? His old wife gets and it's a contractual obligation.
Yeah, right.
Well, unless you go to court and could be extenuating circumstances, but
the insurance companies or 401k companies aren't going to say. They're going to say, hey, this is who we pay.
This is who we have on record.
Yeah, right. That's who we have to pay.
All right, let's just say that your new spouse is okay with your leaving your 401k to your kids from your first wife.
Yeah.
But she doesn't sign off on the spousal waiver.
And it goes to her first and then the kids?
Right. Right. And then maybe to her kids. Maybe your kids are disinherited. So, again, remember, an easier way to do it, well, I shouldn't say an easier, I should say another way to do it is to, if your plan allows it to roll the 401k out into an IRA, then you don't need spousal sign off. So, all right. Another bullet point: ignoring the coordination of life insurance and Roth IRAs and home equity and HSA, health savings accounts, and qualified plans to do something in a more beneficial way. Most people have, for their financial planning, something akin to a financial junk drawer.
Yep. Okay.
In your kitchen, if you're like me, there's one drawer in your kitchen.
One drawer.
It's got all that stuff.
It's got all that stuff. Yeah. Right.
Okay. And the reason is not that anybody is doing something bad. It's just that the typical person makes different decisions at different times for different reasons with different advisors under different economic circumstances.
Yes.
And they mean well, but what happens is you go home at night and you have a chance to watch the game on television or a movie, or look at your financial stuff.
Yeah, right. I know what I'm doing.
Okay, yeah, exactly. There's no deadlines on some of this.
Yeah, no.
So therefore, the financial junk drawer comes into being, and not everything gets done efficiently.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so it takes some catalyst usually, or just some curiosity to say, I haven't looked at this stuff in 4 years, 5 years. I'm wondering if I'm missing anything. Not that I have a bad plan, not that I have bad advisors, not that I have bad products. It's just maybe because it's not glued, I'm missing something that I should be looking at.
It's just a great general question to ask, right?
That's it. That's it. So, ignoring that coordination, one of the things that's sometimes overlooked is using the equity in the house for your own enjoyment during your lifetime. Sometimes what I'll hear is, I want to leave the kids the house when we die. The kids don't want the house. They want the equity in the house.
Yeah, right. Exactly, right? Yeah.
So enjoy the equity for yourself, and there's different ways to do that. And then to leave the kids of comparable value.
Yeah.
And there's different ways to coordinate the Social Security, the annuities, the life insurance, the Roth, the HSA, the health savings accounts, which are a beautiful tool, and home equity, coordinated so that you don't have a financial junk drawer.
Got it.
Make your plan more efficient. There are some ways to take what would be a taxable event in your 401k plan,
Okay.
qualified plans in general, and convert them into a structure which will allow you to take out tax-free income instead of just resigning yourself. Well, I'm screwed basically because 401k plans require me to take money out and pay ordinary income tax. Well, given proper lead time and proper, reception to ideas, someone can actually restructure their
Really?
qualified plan into a vehicles that would allow tax-free income instead of taxable income.
That's
Again,
interesting.
you know what I'm going to say.
Yeah,
attorney,
right,
attorney
exactly.
and CPA, right? Okay,
Exactly.
okay. All right. Naming the estate as the beneficiary of a life insurance policy or an annuity. Okay, one of the beauties of IRAs and life insurance and annuities is their contractual obligations, and they bypass probate, and they don't have anything to do with a will, and as a result of that, you can save a lot of time, money, and privacy. Well, when you name your estate as the beneficiary, then you suddenly thrust it into probate, which may not be your desire.
Oh,
but I
by
learned,
default.
Right. Yeah.
Oh,
right.
okay.
So it doesn't go to the person, it goes to probate,
Yeah.
and then it could take 6, 9, 12, 15, 18
However,
months.
yeah.
And there's a little bit of cost and there's some privacy issues. I learned a long time ago that may have been correct when they set it up. So in other words, if you're looking at something that's 10 years old and somebody has the estate down there as the beneficiary, I'd be remiss if I didn't say that don't question what was done 10 years ago. You weren't there.
Yeah, right.
It may have been the right thing at that time for whatever reason.
Times change too, right?
Now it's time for
change.
the update and say, Mr. Smith, is this still your desire?
Right.
Or let's talk to your attorney. So just be careful whenever you see the estate instead of a person or a trust named as the beneficiary.
Yeah. Well, Tom, as we wrap this up, and I'm still going to give everybody the opportunity to reach back out to you and go and touch on these 33, because these, I mean, obviously these are great. Anything you want to highlight and talk about prior to us signing off?
I'll just leave you with one last bullet point.
Perfect.
Is it the most important on here? No, but it's just one that I see a lot. And that is not even grandma, mom and one of her children take out a bank account and they have joint ownership of it.
Yep, okay.
And mom thinks, well, it's just easy. Well, little does mom realize that if ever Junior has a creditor issue or gets divorced or wants to take some money out of the account, or wants to avoid his siblings being jealous, that's not the way to do it. So
Really?
be very careful if mom and Junior are on the same account at the bank. They'll say Junior gets divorced.
Okay.
And then his wife puts an attachment on that account because she wants it as part of the divorce settlement. And mom goes, that's my account.
Oh, yeah.
And you get onto some of those things. But yeah, time constraints today, Brian. 33 bullet points, could be 1,000. These are just things that I thought off the top of my head. They're meant to get some conversation going with your listeners, to have them contact their advisors and ask.
Yeah, no, I thank you. These are great. I mean, a lot of things to think about, right? It's we obviously could have gone on forever, so I appreciate you being on.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, and everybody, thanks for joining us for this Seize Your Business podcast. We'll be sharing Tom's information from Lakeshore Wealth Strategies here. Reach out to him for the rest of that list, or even I'm sure he can build that to 1,000 to make sure that your plan is dotting all the I's and crossing all the T's. So thanks again for joining us. I'm Bryan McDonald from OnPurpose Growth, signing out. Take care.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Do you have too much stuff? Is your dorm, apartment, or house too full and you don't want to sell, give away, or throw out anything? If so, Hobson Storage can help. We have over 10 different sized units to meet your needs. Our climate-controlled units are safe, secure, and conveniently located within the western suburbs. Call us now at 630-964-4047 to find out how you can get 15% off an upper-level unit, 2 months of free rent, or use of our van to help you move in. Call us and use promo code A1V as in Victor to take back control of your space with Hobson Storage.
Thanks so much for watching our video. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below. click the subscribe button for new videos every week, and download and review us on iTunes. Visit learn-about-law.com for other legal-related articles and videos. Visit our business podcast and video blog, seizeyourbusiness.com, and visit Making Real Estate Fun for real estate videos and podcasts. Call us at 630-324-6666 for a free consultation.